Hey good people, welcome back to my channel, Beauty and the Frizz. My name is Kara. If you're new here, thank you so much for stopping by. And if you're not new, thank you so much for coming back. Today I'm doing my first purchase or pass video. Now, I'm not gonna be going through all the collections coming out. I'm just gonna go through them periodically one at a time because September 1st started a makeup no buy for me, and it's gonna be really tough because since I've started my channel, I've collected a ton of makeup, and now we're at a time of year where there are gonna be a lot of collections coming out. So yeah, I'm gonna need some willpower and some help. So today I'm gonna be talking about the new Natasha Denona Glam palette. If you wanna hear my thoughts about the palette and whether I'm gonna purchase or pass, keep on watching this video. Don't forget to leave me some comments in the comment section, and definitely consider subscribing to my channel and follow me on my Instagram and just joining my little community. All right, let's get started. So as I mentioned, I am on a makeup no buy, and that started September 1st. So any new makeup that you see me reviewing, I ordered before September 1st, and I'm really trying to hold out until the Sephora sale in November. Now, that might be a stretch, but I'm definitely not buying any makeup for the month of September. So on August 31st, Natasha Denona launched a pre-order for her new Glam palette. I'm going to pop a picture up and pictures of the swatches, and I want to just read a description of the palette. So it says, this ultimate user-friendly must-have palette for makeup artists and makeup lovers, featuring 15 cool and neutral warm shades with matte metallic and sparkling finishes. For the first time, presenting special insider makeup tips from Natasha Denona herself by naming the shade names after their ideal place to apply them in order to recreate the Natasha Denona's Day to Glam makeup looks. So basically, what's different about this palette that she has launched is that, similar to Charlotte Tilbury, if you're familiar, the shade names have labels for where the color should be placed, whether it should be a smoke shade, is it a transition, should it go on the lid, should it go in the inner corner, is it a highlight shade? I think that's very appealing to people who are new to eyeshadow. I believe the palette is $65, but you know, I had to look into my collection to see, is this something worth getting? Because immediately I was like, whatever Natasha Denona has, I want it. But then I saw the palette and I was kind of like, let me check this out. So I'm gonna show you a few of my eyeshadow palettes. And I will go as far as to say that if you have any of these eyeshadow palettes that I'm gonna show you, you can go ahead and pass on this Natasha Denona palette because you already have something really, really close. And then what I'm gonna do is pick one of these palettes that I think is really close, because there's one that I grabbed right away when I saw it, and I'm gonna do a look with that palette. So here we go. So the first palette that I had that reminded me of the Natasha Denona Glam palette is this Huda Beauty Smokey Obsessions palette. Now this palette only has 9 shades, so it's, you know, it's definitely smaller, but the shades are very similar to what you see in the new Natasha Denona Glam palette. And oops, here is the palette here, and you can see you've got your smoky shades, there's some warms, there's some shimmers. So I definitely feel like this has a similar color story, although it's less shades. But yeah, if you have this, I think you can go ahead and pass on Natasha Denona. I'm just saying. And I don't think that Natasha Denona palette is boring. I just think that I have similar things in my collection. So I'm really just trying to convince myself not to buy it. That's what this is all about. And hopefully this will help somebody watching and, you know, save a little money as well. Okay, next I have my Colourpop Going Coconuts palette. Now this is not exactly the same. It doesn't have the deeper shades, but this is it here. I feel like you can, this ring light is not letting me be great, but I feel like, oh, there we go. But I feel like you can still create that neutral look. There's shimmers, there's mattes, and there are these like glittery mattes that have, it's probably hard to see on the camera, but it has some glittery mattes, so you can still create a glam look with this Going Coconut palette, and it's way cheaper. Next, from KK Beauty, I have the Glitz and Glam palette. I actually haven't even used this yet. Now this one only has 6 shades, but You know, I really just thought that it did mimic some of the shades in the Natasha Denona Glam palette. So with the 3 palettes I just showed you, you know, I already know that like I don't need the Natasha Denona palette at all. The Mothership Subliminal Platinum Bronze palette. This is actually the first palette I got by Pat McGrath. And it's these just nice, neutral, bronzy, kind of cool shades. And I just, when I think about the Natasha Denona palette, I just see some similarities in the color story. So, you know, basically with my eyeshadow collection, I probably don't need any more eyeshadow at all in life. Now, this last palette is the palette I pulled out as soon as she revealed it, because I was like, I have that Glam palette. I have it. It's just not Natasha Denona. It is by ABH, and it is the Sultry palette. Now, if you remember, this palette was compared to the Urban Decay Naked Reloaded when it came out, but I would have to say that this palette is, the quality of this palette is just, it's just so nice. And I just felt like out of all of the palettes that I just showed you, this one is the closest. So this is the palette that I'm going to use to create a look. I will do the swatches and then we will get right into it. Okay, so let's get into the look using this palette. I'm gonna be using 4 colors. I'm gonna be using Slate. Oh, I do wanna say, before I get into the look, the only outline shade is this shade Bloom here. But, you know, everything else, if you take this shade out, is very, 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 very similar to that Glam palette by Natasha Denona. All right, so for this look, I'm gonna be using 4 shades. I'm gonna be using the shade Slate. I'm going to be using Dystopian, I'm going to be using Rose Quartz, and I'm going to be using the shade Cyborg. All right, so let's do this. All right, so I'm going to take my BK Beauty 202 brush. I'm going to use the shade Cyborg for the, and yeah, you know, I just think that, you know, I've started to really collect makeup, and you just have to keep in mind that makeup goes bad. And I just don't want to look back and feel like I've wasted so much money on things that I'm not going to be able to use. I'm working from home, I'm teaching from home, you know, it's just that situation. And I'm really only putting makeup on, you know, to do my videos. I will be putting makeup on for my students when we start, but you know, I have a lot of makeup, so I don't want to add to it. So this no buy is going to be, you know, super, super important for me. And I do have my eye on some things, but I just really want to wait for that Sephora sale. Okay, so we've got the brow bone highlighted. All right, I'm going to use the same 202 brush, and I'm going to use the color Slate. Slate is going to be my transition shade. And this is a different look for me. I usually gravitate towards the warmer eye looks, but you know, it's always nice to try something else. This color is so pretty. And if you want to see any looks with any of the other palettes that I mentioned, because I'm going to link them, definitely let me know, especially if you're considering buying anything, especially from Pat McGrath, because she's having 25% off right now. So if you want to see anything else that, you know, I showed in this video, let me know. I'd be happy to do it. Okay, so now I'm going to get a more dense brush for the crease to deepen it up. I'm going to be using this Morphe, what is this, M507 brush. Usually go to this one for the crease, and I'm going to take the shade Dystopian, which is this deep brown matte. We're going to put that in the outer corner and a little bit in the crease. think I'm also going to take a little bit of this and put it underneath the lower lash line. I'm just going to do halfway because I think I'm going to take that slate shade and do. This is really pretty. And that's what I was saying, like when I saw the Natasha Denona palette, I was kind of like, not because I thought it was boring, it was just because I was like, I know I don't need it because I had something so similar. And I know some of you watching may have this ABH palette. And the other thing to keep in mind is that with all these new collections dropping, some of these older palettes, you'll be able to find on sale. So, you know, you can achieve a similar look without spending a ton of money. That's my thinking. I just think that people haven't bought as much makeup this year because of the whole quarantine and COVID situation, and we're wearing masks, so people aren't buying as much, you know? And so they've got to get rid of these things, and I think some of these older palettes will go on sale. Okay, I'm gonna take Slate and just finish up the lower lash line. Okay, now I'm gonna use my Rephr number 2 brush, and I'm gonna go ahead and take the shade Rose Quartz, and that's gonna be my lid shade. And I'm gonna use a little bit of setting spray just because it's a shimmer. Sometimes Anastasia shadows can have a little bit of fallout, and this will help that. And I'm probably gonna go back in with Dystopia just to fix the edges a little bit. Okay, so I'm gonna go back with this Dystopian shade and just blur this just a little bit. Okay, all right, I like it. Okay, now I'm going to take Cyborg again, and I'm gonna use that for my inner corner highlight. Okay, so now I'm going to grab a liner. I'm gonna see if I have a gray one. I'll be right back. Okay, so I did find a gray liner. This is a cream gel liner by Colourpop, and it is the shade Hustler. I have eyelash glue in my eye. Don't know how to get that out. I'm working on it. I mean in my eyelash, not in my eye. Okay, so since this is a glam look, I'm going to put on mascara and lashes, and I'll be back with my final thoughts, but I think you already know what they are. Okay guys, so just to wrap up my thoughts on this first purchase or pass, I'm gonna go ahead and pass. I have something similar. I think I created a very similar look to the Natasha Denona Glam palette, so I am sticking with my no buy. I'm being strong, and yeah, that's what I think. So definitely let me know what you think. Oh, but by all means, if you don't have these types of colors in your arsenal, I would definitely say go for it. I am sure that the quality is going to be wonderful. I also like how user-friendly the palette is because you don't have to figure out where the different shades should be placed, and I think that is a great feature to have, especially if you are new to eyeshadow and want to try some different looks. But if you have any of the palettes that I showed you, or other palettes that have similar color stories, or if this color story doesn't really speak to you, don't get it, because you know you're gonna end up wasting your money. But I definitely look forward to seeing the reviews of the Glam palette and just, you know, admire it from afar. So as always, I thank you guys for watching. Thank you guys for taking a little bit of your time and giving it to me. And you know, I appreciate you guys very, very much. Make sure you're staying safe, be nice to yourself, and I'll see you guys in the next video. Bye.